Republicans claim that their so-called whistleblower, who had information that would take President Joe Biden down, has gone missing. If this sounds familiar, it's because Republicans do this every single week. And the media just runs with it and refuses to hold the GOP accountable for their lies. Not here on the Midas Touch Network. Enough is enough. This weekend was Mother's Day weekend. It was also our mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Mom.
Hey.
We love you. And happy Mother's Day to all the Midas moms out there. We appreciate you so much. You are the heart and soul of the Midas Mighty movement. We can't thank you enough. A movement built on compassion, decency, intelligence, and the love of our democracy. So let's compare President Biden's Mother's Day message with Donald Trump's message. Look, character matters, and Trump's character is absolutely disqualifying, despite the media trying to cover for it. Special counsel Jack Smith may want to check out a new lawsuit filed against Rudy Giuliani by a former female employee that was just filed under New York's Adult Survivors Act. That's the same law Donald Trump was just held liable under in a New York federal court. The lawsuit alleges horrific sexual abuse against the female employee by Rudy Giuliani. And the lawsuit also mentions, though, Rudy Giuliani's involvement in selling pardons with Donald Trump, it's alleged, and a plan by Giuliani and Trump, the plan to lie about the outcome of the election and claim election fraud, regardless of the outcome. And in this lawsuit, it also references that the plaintiff has lots of text messages and emails from Rudy Giuliani sent to others in the MAGA orbit. Also, this weekend, President Biden gave a commencement address at Howard University. And in that address, he stated that white supremacy is the biggest domestic threat in America. By the way, the same assessment made by Donald Trump's Department of Homeland Security. But when President Biden says it, the Republicans and the right-wing media go out of their mind, they tell on themselves, and essentially come to the defense of white supremacists. What? Donald Trump canceled a rally in Iowa this weekend, citing weather conditions, when in fact the weather turned out to be just fine. But he still had time to call into a traveling fascist circus cult rally that took a stop at his property at the Trump Doral in Miami. It's an event headlined by Michael Flynn, Trump's children, and various others who refer to themselves as prophets. And one of the big issues they focused on at the rally, not sure if you saw this, Brett, but this is a big threat to the MAGA Republicans. It's the threat of technologically advanced mermaids. That's what they,
I was going to say that. You took the words right out of my mouth. I swear that was the words.
I kid you not. That is what they were talking about at this Republican event. Like, what in the world's happened to the Republican Party? Yeah, the answer, Donald Trump. Title 42, Donald Trump's, I guess, immigration policy based on COVID emergency powers. That's where they invoke the COVID emergency powers. It expired, and contrary to all of the GOP and media lies and fear-mongering, guess what happened? Border encounters were actually down 50%. And when President Biden can actually implement a real plan that is well thought out, it actually works. So just enough of this gaslighting by the media that, oh, it's doom this, doom that. The Republicans are wrong basically about everything. Speaking of which, the Trump Bill Barr Commission Durham report was just made public today. The Durham investigation into the origins of the Russian collusion investigation by the FBI is now officially over. And like all things MAGA, it was just a complete and utter embarrassing failure, with the two cases that actually went to a jury trial all ended up with Durham losing like right away. The juries returned quick verdicts rejecting actual witch hunt cases. The amount of gaslighting, though, that exists over the origins of the Trump collusion investigation always amazes me. It's not like there's some big mystery out there. Like Donald Trump said, Russia, if you are listening, steal Hillary Clinton's emails. And everyone's like, oh, the origins. What are the origins of? He said it.
He said it.
He said it. This is the Midas Touch podcast. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Brett and Jordy Meiselas. And for all of those who have subscribed to our audio podcast as well, who listen not just on YouTube, but audio. And if you're on audio, listen on YouTube. It's been incredible crossover. The amount of audio subscriptions is through the roof. So for our YouTube watchers, just also make sure you subscribe to the Midas Touch podcast and audio. Brett, Jordy, how are you doing?
Huge shout out to everybody subscribing to the audio podcast. I'm loving
all of us this weekend crushed.
Yeah, unbelievable. Honestly, unbelievable to see. Just, I think it's a direct result, though, guys, of this gaslighting that we're seeing, that we're used to seeing just come from the Republican Party, but we're now seeing it come from media networks that we used to rely upon for the truth, or at least to get as close to the truth as possible. And now it seems like they are just taking the Republican line, which are just full of lies. Like if you follow this podcast, we will show you the lies. We will show you their statements. We will show you documented proof that what they are saying is BS. We will even show you them saying that what they are saying is BS. Yet every single time, hook, line, and sinker, these same media companies, and I do believe that this is on purpose and by design, they run with the Republican gaslighting rather than the truth. And once again, here, we do not want to look for both sides of an issue to try to figure out if the truth is somewhere in the middle. We just want to figure out what the truth is, pinpoint it, and bring it to you as best as we can. Brothers, I'll just say aside, it was great seeing you guys over the past few weeks in person. Always a pleasure to hang out. Shout out to all the Midas moms out there. Happy Mother's Day. I hope everybody had a nice weekend, and always great to spend some great time with the bros. So such a pleasure to see you guys. Jordy, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. And like Ben said, too, it was our mama's birthday, too. Mother's Day, mom's birthday. Happy birthday, mom. Another shout out. Got to do that. People are flocking to the audio for the Midas Touch podcast to the exact reason of what you just said, Brett. I mean, there are so many networks out there. And look, I'm not going to be afraid to say it. What the hell is happening to CNN?
It's
day after day after day. I look at the comments on our YouTube. I look at the comments on the live chat, and people are scratching their heads. A network that used to be looked at as not a beacon of truth, but at least that when you went there, you would get facts. But that's no longer the case. And so that's why I'm so stoked to see the audio numbers specifically on the Midas Touch podcast go up, and not to pat ourselves on the back too much, but I really want to give a shout out to the Midas Mighty, because this is your movement. You guys understand, and you guys are meeting the moment here that truth and facts matter. And the way my brothers and I are able to, digest this information with a very data first, truth first approach is clearly resonating. So thank you for making this one of the most watched and listened to podcasts in the world. And let's keep growing this thing.
So let's expose these lies. Let's expose this disinformation. And one of the common schemes that are used by the Republicans right now is to claim the existence of whistleblowers that either don't really exist, or are just not credible, or are not whistleblowers. And then they use that as cover to try to claim immunity when they say defamatory things about President Biden, or about Democrats, or about private citizens. A whistleblower told us, and then they have these press conferences, because what does the media report? The media reports whatever the headline is that Republicans want them to say, says whistleblower at the end of it. And to most people, they read that and they go, oh, this must be a fact. This must be true, without the fact that that's not actually being scrutinized at any detail. And the MAGA Republicans don't care about the outcome, because at the end of the day, the media barely covers what happens when their lies are demonstrably exposed. So they get the benefit of the headline, and they don't get the downside of being disqualified from ever perpetuating the lies again. That is until now, because at the Midas Touch Network, we call these traitors out. We call them what they are, and we expose them. So just remember, by the way, if you keep up with all the Midas Touch podcasts, we talk about these things as they're happening in real time. And we said to you, hey, we don't believe these are real whistleblowers. And that's just based on accumulating the knowledge that it's like, you lied to me once, you lied to me twice, you lied to me every single week. It's kind of obvious that what you're doing is just lying. So remember, this is what happened back on May 7th, where James Comer, who runs the House Oversight Committee, one of the most powerful committees. So you've got MAGA Republican Comer running the Oversight Committee, right? You've got Jim Jordan, who is not a licensed lawyer, although he graduated law school, running the powerful Judiciary Committee. You've got Marjorie Taylor Greene on the Homeland Security Committee, as well as on the Oversight Committee, right? You have Comer, who was credibly accused by his past girlfriend of serious abuse, as well as bringing her to get an abortion and then trying to cover it up. You have Jim Jordan, who covered up sexual abuse when he was a gym teacher. So just to be clear, who they have as their leaders, by the way. And so this is what Comer, who runs the House Oversight Committee, who should be nowhere near the House of Representatives, yet the Oversight Committee. This is what he said on May 7th. He said there's very credible whistleblower info that's been provided to Congress. Here, play this clip.
What can you tell us about this latest investigation of influence peddling on a sitting president? I know that you're planning a press conference this Wednesday. What will we learn?
Well, Senator Grassley and I received a tip on a whistleblower. Senator Grassley was the lead in this. We reviewed documents from the legally protected whistleblower, highly credible whistleblower that would implicate Joe Biden in a pay-for-play scheme.
Now, notice there, one of his tells as well, the legally protected whistleblower, what he's basically saying there in any future legal filings trying to sue for defamation, hey, this is a legitimate legislative activity. That's what that little tell was. So then what do? They then hold a hearing. The MAGA Republicans do. All the press shows up where they then talk about those exact BS allegations. But let's play what happened at this press conference on May 10th.
Now I want to say a few remarks about the developments last week. A week ago, I sent a subpoena to the FBI for a form that a whistleblower has alleged is in the FBI's possession. We hope the FBI will be transparent and forthcoming and provide the Oversight Committee with the 1023 form we have subpoenaed. If they do, the committee will assess the form it has subpoenaed from the FBI, and has been my practice. We will report to you only facts when they are verified and indisputable. This committee will not pursue witch hunts or string the American people along for years with false promises of evidence that is beyond circumstantial evidence, as Representative Adam Schiff and the Democrats did for years. I trust the whistleblower. A subpoena from this committee is a powerful tool that I do not take lightly. The level of detail provided to Senator Grassley led me to conclude a subpoena was warranted, and I stand by that assessment. I will say this. When Senator Grassley approached me with the information the whistleblower provided, it was because of the information we've learned through this committee's own investigation that indicated to me the whistleblower's allegations are consistent with our independent findings. Those findings are what I called you here today to discuss.
And by the way, the level of gaslighting there is and lies. It's like, where do you even begin right there? But if you want to, I assume he's making a reference to the Mueller investigation. And just because Donald Trump goes Russia, 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 like a petulant weirdo third grade fascist, like who even talks like that? No, like Paul Manafort guilty, Rick Gates guilty, Mike Flynn guilty, George Papadopoulos guilty, Roger Stone guilty, Konstantin Kilminnik, who's now wanted on $250,000 for a reward. And by the way, I could probably name you about 12
you can keep going on and on, no doubt.
15 others.
And Ben,
this is actually talk about a long drawn out witch hunt, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The Durham investigation, Michael Sussman, not guilty. Igor Danchenko, not guilty. The jury freaking laughed when they brought those charges. Like within hours, the jury was like, "What the hell is this? Not guilty. Get out of here." Because evidence actually matters. So Brett, they hold that press conference, right? They gaslight. They go, "We're only gonna tell you the facts right here." And then let's talk about what happened this weekend. But before this
or
weekend,
what didn't happen.
Exactly. Show the front page, though, right after that press conference of the New York Post, just so you see what takes place here and how the disinfo and the
This
lies
should be
are
criminal.
spread.
This should be criminal.
So then New York Post writes, and this is all throughout Murdoch's, media empire of lies and fascism. They go, "Clock is ticking for Joe Biden. FBI has a secret file alleging then Veep Biden took money from foreign national whistleblower." So the way they get around, or they try to get around the defamation, is this legally protected whistleblower. But that is what is being fed to people, that lie. And most people go, "Oh, I guess that Biden's involved in a bribery scheme based on this whistleblower." This is what Comer said this weekend on Maria Bartiromo. Play this clip.
Hold on a second, Congressman. Did you just say that the whistleblower or the informant is now missing?
Well, we're hopeful that we could find the informant. Now, remember, these informants are kind of in the spy business.
The spy business. It's all complicated, folks. This is involved in the spy business now, folks. Come on.
No, it's absolutely absurd. They always feel the need that they need to settle some sort of score. They view everything through this political lens where, they did all these investigations into Donald Trump. So what we need to do is we need to do investigations to try to smear Joe Biden in the same way, without acknowledging the fact that there were damn good reasons for the investigations into Donald Trump and his co-conspirators, investigations that often resulted in actual charges and actual convictions, despite Donald Trump's ultimate pardons of those criminals. Those investigations actually bore fruit when these are just senseless investigations for a political purpose. But like you said, when you do those investigations like they are doing for the headlines, I saw it firsthand. I don't watch a lot of the local news stations when I am at home, but when I was on Long Island and in New York and stuff, I would be around people who would be watching local news, and you see how the local news presents these things. They immediately go to, and today, the House Republicans held a press conference where they revealed that a whistleblower had damning evidence on a Joe Biden bribery scheme. More of that at 11, and that's what people are getting beamed into their homes, even though it's just absolute BS. There is nothing to it, and frankly, in my mind, this should be absolutely criminal to just blatantly accuse people of crimes without having a shred of evidence whatsoever, and then hide behind, a whistleblower said it, not us, a whistleblower said it. You're accusing people of pretty extreme things, and you're hiding behind a whistleblower that doesn't even exist saying it, and then they disappear. And what do? Do you run a front page retraction? No, you just move on to the same stupid thing as the next stupid thing, which is just like this stupid thing. And then what do the supporters do? What are the people who hung on every word of James Comer and Jim Jordan? What do? They go right to the next conspiracy theory, and they go, this whistleblower disappeared. There are two options here. Option one, James Comer is lying to my face, and the House Republicans think I'm a freaking moron, and they are gaslighting me. They are lying to me because they know I am a sucker. Option one. Option two, Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden and the deep state cabal are running a murder scheme, and they kill all the whistleblowers just in the nick of time, right before they were about to take down good old Joe Biden. The Clinton crime mafia got to him. The
same person, and it's not even consistent. The same person who they argue can't even complete sentences, even though he gives great speeches, is somehow the biggest 8-dimensional chess mastermind puppeteer.
That senile Joe Biden who can't even speak or move. Oh, wait a second.
No, it's exactly it.
A mastermind of the biggest criminal scheme in the world.
At the same time, Biden can't speak, but also he could be the biggest mastermind of all time. And let me just say one thing. We were at our parents' house this weekend. I brought home my mitt. I brought home my glove. I'm gonna catch this whistleblower. I think I could find this whistleblower and catch him. But in a more
Jordy's breaking out the prop comedy in the middle of the show. Jordy like slapped for the bit. He slapped the microphone with his mitt.
It got really aggressive for it. That's why those audio numbers are just flying up. But do you know what this also shows with the New York Post? It just shows the fallacy of liberal bias in media. It's just something that actually genuinely doesn't exist. When you look at it, the media is controlled by these right-wing billionaire lunatics who continuously push their agenda. It's like the projection that we see every day from the MAGA Republicans, right? Everything that they claim that the Democrats are doing or they're actually doing. The media is controlled by these right-wing Rupert Murdoch billionaire types who push the Joe Biden agenda.
The Joe Biden agenda? Well, it's true, though. You go across, right? Even social media, obviously. You have Twitter, Elon Musk. You have Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg. You have CNN. You got John Malone and Chris Licht. You got Fox, Rupert Murdoch.
Show me one left-leaning, if you even want to call it that, owner of one of these media companies, please.
But that is part of what the MAGA Republicans do. It's part of what fascism does, which is you basically work the refs, right? Yeah. You basically just put out all of those lies.
Great analogy.
And you got to see and just spread that disinformation. Let me show you MAGA Republican Tim Burchett. This was the same MAGA Republican who a few weeks back we talked about. He said that there's nothing to do to stop school shootings and to stop relying on Congress to try to pass any laws because Congress can't do anything about it. He said a bunch of other stuff like that. But this is when he was asked about this disappearing whistleblower on Bartiromo. Play this clip.
Do you know the whereabouts of the informant?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Is he missing?
Apparently, yes. According to Chairman Comer.
Apparently, we're all full of shit. Apparently, we just defamed Joe Biden. Apparently,
how about Maria Bartiromo's acting throughout all this? Her theater. She's like, so you're telling me the whistleblower went missing? What?
Give her a Razzie.
How is that possible? So he's missing. So
it's like Brett. You know what it's like? If you ever did one of those like murder mystery party nights, and then like the person overacts. Yeah. Where did he go?
I've always wanted to do one of those.
Wherever did the whistleblower find himself? I don't understand.
So I just want to say this. I call with these MAGA Republicans what they're doing. I'd say it's a clown show, but I feel like that would be offensive to clown shows at this point. No, this is why I say all the time that the MAGA Republicans, they hate facts and data because the facts and data never point in their favor. So what they do is they're forced to just make things up. It's pathetic. We see time after time after time again.
You gotta call it out, and you gotta call out also just the lack of character of these individuals. And by the way, their lack of character is sadly probably their most endearing quality. Right, like of all of the ways that you can criticize Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans, saying that they lack character and integrity is frankly the nicest thing that sometimes you can say about them.
I'm trying to think where you're getting. Well, they really are pieces of shit. They're really good at that.
Well, at least they stick to it. At least they stick to being pieces of shit.
Let's look at what Donald Trump said.
Shout out Pittsburgh.
Let's take a look at let's compare the messages this weekend from President Biden and Donald Trump. First, let me show you what Donald Trump said, what his Mother's Day message was. He goes, "Happy Mother's Day to all, in particular, the mothers, wives, and lovers of the radical left, fascists, Marxists, and communists who are doing everything within their power to destroy and obliterate our once great country. Please make these complete lunatics and maniacs kinder, gentler, softer, and most importantly, smarter, so that we can quickly make America great again." And look, I truly think the media needs to cover stuff like this. Like, how could you have somebody running a major political party that says that? We'll show you in a little bit the event that was just hosted at his property that his sons, who are leaders in his political campaign, spoke at, that Donald Trump spoke at and called in, because you can't cover your eyes and close your ears to that reality. But that's what Trump said. This is what President Biden said. He said, "Today, I join families across America in celebrating the moms and women filling the role of a mother in our lives. Our mothers and grandmothers believe in us, sacrifice for us, and lift us up. They are the people in our lives who have given us the most. Happy Mother's Day." And then he gave a Mother's Day message to his late mother, Catherine Eugenia Finnegan. And he said, "I'm Catherine Eugenia Finnegan Biden's son. She taught me about honor, about responsibility, and about courage, because without it, we wouldn't be able to love with abandon. I miss her every day, especially today." You know, and I know so many people are leaving Twitter, and I still use it sometimes for catching up on news, although it's very difficult to even go there and open up the app sometimes. But some of the messages from the MAGA supporters, not some, all of the messages from the MAGA supporters to Biden's very loving and normal messages were some of just the most, you know, and they're all promoted now based on the way Elon Musk has his algorithm, because they all buy their blue checks. And so you just read these things and they say the most hateful things about Biden and Biden's wife and Biden's mother. You know, I read these things and I was like, it's just horrific.
And by the way, it's part of this, you know, the Republicans like to call everything that's actually really happening a psyop. Everything's fake. Everything's a psyop, while they actually conduct like actual psyops right before your eyes. And one of the ways they're doing that right now, for those of you who don't use Twitter or don't know how Elon Musk has changed Twitter, is free speech now comes at a cost. So free speech is $8 if you want to get your tweets promoted, $8 a month. And so the people who are most likely, and by the way, it's been a total absolute failure of a program. Like nobody's signed up, but the people who have signed up are these far right, crazy MAGA people. That's like the bulk of people who have signed up. And so what the app does now is it promotes all of those blue check people's comments to the top to give the illusion that that is the prevailing opinion on any given issue. So you look at any Biden post, the top post will always be extremely negative. You look at any post about Democrats, the top post will be extremely, extremely negative, and vice versa. And so that's one way they are trying to kind of work the refs and try to make people think that this is a much larger movement than it is. As Ben often says on the show, part of fascism is making it seem larger than it actually is. And that's exactly what they are doing with this app. And I think it's actually having the opposite effect. I think it's having a bit of a rake stepper effect, honestly, because what it's doing is it's shining a light, honestly, on these people. And you are seeing just how deplorable, how vile these people are with their comments, how they could take anything, including a happy Mother's Day message, something very pleasant, and immediately respond with the most vitriolic, hateful words you have ever seen in your life. Every time I see those comments, it lets me know, it reaffirms why I am in this fight, because it is a fight of good versus evil. It is a fight versus right versus wrong. It's not left versus right. It's right versus wrong. And we have to remember that. And every time you see those comments, it reminds you, it smacks you in the face with that reminder.
Brett, that is so smart. It is indeed this blue check moment happening on Twitter right now, a rake stepper moment. I like to say all the time in this
Somebody
show,
just wrote in the chat, "Let them eat rake," and I thought that was really good and really funny.
Hilarious. But no, I love that you interrupted me during my thing, but that's fine. So I say this all the time on the show. I love when Marjorie Taylor Greene speaks. I love when Jim Jordan speaks. I love when Matt Gaetz speaks. Give them the microphone, because overwhelmingly, whatever they're saying to the American people despise and detest. And so now we get to see this, and it's unfortunate because these comments are hateful. These comments are racist. These comments are terrible. But at least it gets to show the American people, the pro-democracy loving people, the people who actually love this country, that there are evil freaking people out there. And they... So go ahead, Ben.
No, go ahead, Jordy. Sorry.
They live there and they exist. And that's why it's an important reminder for us to fight each and every day.
But here's the problem. The problem is, Jordy, when they do speak, and people hear what they're saying, and we all know how dangerous it is. But then the media has headlines like
Correct.
this.
You're right.
Trump and his team are attempting to adopt a more traditional campaign. This is from the Associated Press. Trump is trying for a more disciplined campaign. This is from the New York Times. Trump has embraced a more humbling and traditional style
Beyond
on
parody.
the campaign trail. So when we see the types of things we show here on this podcast and on the Midas Touch Network, and then the media goes, "Oh, that's very traditional."
What is that?
What people respond, and they go, "What are you talking about? Stop gaslighting." And it actually causes a level of a trauma, because you're like, "No, I see that. That is insane, and we're going to call out that as insane." And here's what I want to talk about. I want to show you this video, and then we'll obviously get more into it. Here's a perfect example of that, Jordy, that Donald Trump hosted a QAnon event at his hotel.
Mm-hmm.
He hosted a QAnon event, okay? Since April of 2022, Donald Trump has posted 500 QAnon memes on his social media platform. Since April of 2022, I want you to think about how absurd that is, and that the media then goes, "Oh, that's very traditional." And so this past weekend at his hotel, he held an event called Reawaken, where they have prophets, they call themselves prophets from God. That's what they say. They're obviously false prophets, but they say they're sent as messengers to tell the world that Donald Trump should become the emperor. And this is what goes on at the event. This is an event that Eric Trump speaks at, that Laura Trump frequently speaks at, that Donald Trump called into this past weekend. And this is from someone who calls herself, this is one of the keynote speakers at the Trump event. She calls herself Prophet Amanda Grace. Okay. And this is what she warns about. This actually took place. And I know the media doesn't cover it, and you don't hear about this anywhere else other than the Midas Touch Network. I don't know why. I mean, it's everybody should be saying, "What the heck?" Play this clip.
There's wickedness attempting to completely cover this nation in perversion and seducing spirits. I have never seen more images of more mermaids and water people in my life. That's a division in the kingdom of darkness, and they're highly technologically advanced. And we have to understand what we're dealing with. And we have to understand the rules of engagement in spiritual warfare. And we are meant for hand-to-hand combat. And we are meant to bring our cries before the throne of God, to bring judgment on the rulers of darkness of this world and of this nation. Because the rulers have set up a throne in this nation. They've set it up. Darkness has completely covered and eclipsed the White House of this nation.
This is the modern day Republican Party. I want to talk more about this event, Donald Trump calling into this event, the fact that the media isn't covering this complete fascist QAnon insanity. But first, let's just take a quick break.
60% of U.S. pork production comes from one company owned by China. And their hogs, they're given something called ractopamine, which is banned in 160 countries, including China. Yet you find this in your grocery store aisle every day. There's a better way. I'd like to tell you about Moink. That's moo plus oink. Moink delivers grass-fed and grass-finished beef and lamb, pastured pork and chicken, and sustainable wild-caught Alaskan salmon straight to your door. Moink farmers, they farm like our grandparents did. And as a result, Moink meat tastes like it should, because the family farm, it does it better. The Moink difference is a difference you can taste, and you can feel good knowing that you're helping family farms stay financially independent too. I love that Moink is helping save rural America, and I know that you will too. Join the Moink movement today. Shark Tank host Kevin O'Leary called Moink's bacon the best bacon he's ever tasted. And Ring Doorbell founder Jamie Siminoff jumped at the chance to invest in Moink. Plus, they guarantee you'll say, "Oink, oink, I'm just so happy I got moinked." And I know I do, and I know you will too. Keep American farming going by signing up right now at moinkbox.com/MidasTouch. Right now, and listeners of this show get free bacon in your first box. It's the best bacon you'll ever taste, but for a limited time. Spelled MOINK box.com/MidasTouch. That's moinkbox.com/MidasTouch. Your pets are a member of the family. Don't feed them like they're in the doghouse. Give them Num Num. Num Num delivers fresh dog food with every portion personalized to your dog's needs, so you can bring out their best. Num Num's made with real, whole food you can see and recognize without any additives or fillers that contribute to bloating and low energy. That's because Num Num uses the latest science and insights to make real, good food for dogs. Their nutrient-packed recipes are crafted by board-certified veterinary nutritionists, made fresh and shipped free to your door. Num Num's already delivered over 40 million meals to good dogs like yours, inspiring millions of clean bowls and tail wags. Now, I love my dog so much and feel better giving them the nutrition that he needs. And my dog loves the food and other benefits that he's seen. Plus, Num Num comes with a money-back guarantee. If your dog's tail isn't wagging within 30 days, Num Num will refund your first order. No fillers, no nonsense, just Num Num. Go right now for 50% off your no-risk 2-week trial at trynum.com/Midas, spelled TRYNOM.com/Midas for 50% off. Trynum.com/Midas. Thank you. Let's go. Let's go. Hey. As always, the sponsors, they're in the drop down in the podcast. The links, you could click them. Really helps the show. Those products are incredible. Really helps the show. Click them. Thank you.
I love that we have good sponsors too that make great things. Like
Yes.
It's so much easier to promote great sponsors. So definitely check them out, and they support our pro-democracy content here. So over this past weekend, Donald Trump was supposed to hold a rally in Des Moines, Iowa. There was some inclement weather there, but it was passing, and he claimed that tornado watch earlier in the day was the reason that he couldn't show up. Like, it cleared up. It was absolutely fine. Like, he'd be able to show up, but he got word that it was a very small and tiny crowd there. But he did have time to call into this QAnon event. That's the one in Iowa. And he did have time, though, to call into this event that he hosted at the Trump Doral in Miami. And he hosted a QAnon event. And none of the media talks about it. Like, they're like, we don't want to talk about Donald Trump. The best way to deal with him is ignore him. And we always say here, no, the best way is to just tell the truth and to call it out and to call it fascist and to call out the lies.
And by the way, Ben, this is the kind of stuff that they should have been asking him about at the town hall. If they were going to ask him questions, instead of asking the same old issues and talking about January 6th the whole time and talking about the stolen election, talking about things where we've heard his perspective on and his answers on countless times, where we probably could have written the script for Donald Trump's responses because we know exactly what he's going to say. Why not hold his feet to the fire and ask him about a QAnon event where they're talking about God killing the people inside the White House or talking about mermaids? Obviously, this event happened after, but these events happen countless times. That happened countless times. And this sort of rhetoric that he consistently reposts, this QAnon rhetoric, he's done, like you said, over 500 times. So why not ask him about his QAnon connections? Why not ask him about some of this other fringe stuff? Why not ask him about all of his videos that we show you here where he says he's going to dismantle the government entirely? Why not ask him about his whole thing where he's going to dismantle colleges and universities across the country in order to put his own people in charge because he doesn't like their woke indoctrination or whatever he's saying is happening there? Like there are serious issues that we could be actually bringing up with him. He is telling you in every video he posts, in every post he posts on Truth Social, by calling into these events, he is telling you that I want to run as a fascist dictator when I come in. And there is going to be no guardrails whatsoever when if I actually get into power, and I will destroy the United States of America. So why not ask him about that while you have him?
Why not ask him this question? So Mike Flynn, who you previously appointed as your national security advisor, who is a convicted felon who you pardoned based on his relationships with Russia. Do you want to have Mike Flynn join your administration? Do you think Mike Flynn should be, have a prominent role? Because watch what Donald Trump did when he called in to this Mike Flynn event at Trump Doral. He said in a future Trump administration, Mike Flynn would have a major role. And he said that Mike Flynn has been through like lots of torture. Here, play this clip.
Hey, Mr. President, can you hear us?
I can.
This place is going crazy.
General Flynn, he's some general, he's some man. He took abuse like nobody could have handled, and he came out bigger, better, stronger than ever before. We love him. He's a leader. And you just stay wealthy and healthy and well and everything. I want you to have great lives in general. You just have to stay healthy because we're bringing you back. We're going to bring you back.
Yeah, we're bringing you back. He says he's been abused. He pled guilty. I mean, he's been abused. He pled guilty. And this is the event that Donald Trump called into over the weekend that he hosted at his hotel. We showed you this other video, but if you're just joining us, this is the other speaker, Prophet Amanda Grace, who this is the modern day Republican Party. You know, it's like they're talking about technologically advanced mermaids. Like I'm not making this stuff up. This is part of their platform. This is a major, to be a modern day Republican, you believe not let's talk about jobs, not let's talk about healthcare or education or equality or protecting a woman's right to control her own body, not a veterans. Like, let's talk about Dr. Seuss and let's talk about the mermaids, and let's bring up people who say that they talk to God and that God tells them these things as prophet. Here, play this clip from this person. It's out of control.
There's wickedness attempting to completely cover this nation in perversion and seductive, seducing spirits. I have never seen more images of more mermaids and water people in my life. That's a division in the kingdom of darkness, and they're highly technologically advanced. And we have to understand what we're dealing with. And we have to understand the rules of engagement in spiritual warfare. And we are meant for hand-to-hand combat. And we are meant to bring our cries before the throne of God, to bring judgment on the rulers of darkness of this world and of this nation. Because the rulers have set up a throne in this nation. They've set it up. Darkness has completely covered and eclipsed the White House of this nation.
Yeah, don't portray that as a normal thing. Look, you can fill up a venue of 5,000 to 10,000 people who are part of a cult. It's happened throughout our history, right? It's not a unique thing that there are death cults that exist in the United States of America that attract big crowds, right? That happens consistently. What doesn't happen is large media networks saying, oh, that's a more traditional approach. And what a disciplined campaign. No, the way you deal with it is you say that is dangerous and crazy talk. By the way, here's another person they had speak at the event. Again, dangerous, crazy lies. It's QAnon stuff. This is someone who's a big MAGA influencer. This is a major influencer in the Republican Party. His name is Jimmy Levy. And this is what he says about his time in Hollywood. Play this clip.
I got on American Idol, and I went to the end of Hollywood Week. And, I started hanging out more and getting more experiences with how sick these people were in Hollywood. These people are drinking the blood of children. These people are injecting a chemical called adrenochrome that they extract from children that are scared. This is really happening, and this is the most popular chemical used in Hollywood for the youth. It's a fountain of youth, they say. It's disgusting, and it needs to be exposed. Jim Caviezel tried to expose it and was called crazy, but it's the truth. This is what is being used. These people worship the devil.
It's not true. It is insane. And that is the event that Donald Trump lent his platform to. And you can cover an event like this the way we do, as a way of signaling red alert, red alert. This is going on right now. This is who the modern day Republican Party has become. Brett, I'll toss it to you in one moment, but I do want to mention we did this piece this weekend about the mass exodus of Republicans, of independents, of people not affiliated with political party, of conservatives away from the Republican Party, because the modern day Republican Party is the MAGA Republican Party. After this podcast and after you subscribe on audio, go to the YouTube and check it out from this weekend, because I think there's now close to 6,000 comments. And many of them are from people who say, you know what? I consider myself conservative, or I'm independent, and sometimes I used to vote for Republicans and sometimes I'd vote for Democrats. But this modern day MAGA Republican Party, this is not conservative. This is not normal. Their behavior is completely dangerous and insane. And I'm voting blue. And you'll see the countless stories. And again, that's what needs to be talked about, because that's actually what the data suggests. And that's the type of data we analyzed going into the midterms. That's where the trends are, Brett.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate, for the sake of repetition, after seeing these clips, I want to reiterate the quotes from these publications. CNN, quote, "Trump and his team are attempting to adopt a more traditional campaign." Associated Press, "Trump is trying for a, quote, more disciplined campaign." The New York Times, "Trump has embraced a more humbling and traditional style on the campaign trail." I just want to make sure people know what people at large are being fed out there about Trump's election, about this election in general, because this is the problem with the coverage. It's not about covering him. Obviously, he needs to be covered. But when you treat it like it's normal and not sick, I just want you to imagine for 1 second, imagine Joe Biden picked up the phone and called into a literal QAnon event. This isn't even QAnon adjacent, a literal QAnon event where they're talking about Hollywood bloodsuckers on adrenochrome, and they're talking about mermaids and whatever. I don't even know what they're saying. They're talking about prophets coming down to take out people in the White House, 1,000 years of darkness, in a clip that we might show you in a little bit.
Yeah, we've done enough clips.
Will you imagine for 1 second Joe Biden calling into this event once, and the freak out that would occur, and rightfully so. But Trump does it, and it's just like, oh, it's just a traditional campaign, bro. Just traditional.
Instead, here's the freak out. President Biden gives a speech at Howard University and says that white supremacy is the biggest domestic threat. The freak out from the media and from the right wing came when President Biden said this. If we have the clip, let's play the clip.
We know that American history has not always been a fairy tale. From the start, it's been a constant push and pull for more than 240 years between the best of us, the American ideal that we're all created equal, and the worst of us, the harsh reality that racism has long torn us apart. It's a battle that's never really over. But on the best days, enough of us have the guts and the hearts to stand up for the best in us, to choose love over hate, unity over disunion, progress over retreat, to stand up against the poison of white supremacy, as I did in my inaugural address, to single out as the most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy. We can finally resolve those ongoing questions about who we are as a nation. That puts strength of our diversity at the center of American life. The future that celebrates and learns from history. A future for all Americans. A future I see you leading, and I'm not, again, exaggerating. You are going to be leading it. Again, let's be clear. There are those who don't see you and don't want this future. There are those who demonize and pit people against one another. And there are those who do anything and everything no matter how desperate or immoral, to hold on to power. And that's never going to be an easy battle. But I know this, the oldest, most sinister forces may believe they'll determine America's future, but they are wrong. We will determine America's future.
That's what the media and that's what the right-wing echo chamber, which then kind of makes the coverage, the reactive media has to go, oh, I guess if the right-wing media and Fox is saying that that's a controversial statement, let's report that as a controversial statement. First off, Biden looked amazing. He sounds amazing. That is someone who is in far better shape, who's got all of his faculties anywhere near, so like a Donald Trump, is not even close to that.
Not even
That
close.
is someone who is ready to lead, is leading, and is just speaking the truth. And by the way, what he's just saying, it's not a controversial statement in terms of lethality. It is an objective fact that white supremacy inspired violence has killed more people than any other thing in our homeland very recently. And it is just the FBI's own data. What he's saying is what the FBI has been saying for a very long time, especially since Donald Trump has been promoting and encouraging. Let's not also forget where it's coming from. And just so you know, this was the acting Department of Homeland Security Secretary, Chad Wolf, under Donald Trump, says the same exact thing. And because it's objective data, at least. And by the way, it wasn't like Chad Wolf was forthcoming with the data. He had to be grilled during his during his confirmation hearing. So it wasn't just like he volunteered it, but when he was asked the question, he stated it. Here, play this clip of it.
Wanted to spend a little time getting some direct answers from you relating to work towards dealing with white supremacist violence and activities. I showed the chart that was here earlier. Can you confirm that the department assesses white supremacist violence to be the most deadly threat now facing our nation today?
I think when you talk about domestic terrorism, so I want to be clear on that front. When you talk about domestic terrorism, we talk about homegrown violent extremists, which are folks that are inspired, motivated, or directed by foreign terrorist organizations. And then we talk about domestic violent extremists. Within that category are racially and ethnically motivated individuals, and certainly white supremacist extremists from a lethality standpoint over the last 2 years, particularly when you look at 2018 and 2019, are certainly the most persistent and lethal threat when we talk about domestic violent extremists.
Yeah, but the attack on Biden from the right wing and the RNC research posted as an attack, saying that this was pure evil by President Biden. Vivek
not the white supremacist terrorist attacks are pure evil. Biden saying white supremacy bad. Biden saying white supremacy bad. That was the evil. Sorry, continue.
No. They were coming to the defense of white supremacists and basically saying, oh, this isn't even a big threat at all. This isn't a big issue, Jordy.
Well, let me just say this. I mean, of course, the MAGA Republicans are upset with Biden, calling white supremacy the most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland. You know why? Because these white supremacists, they just don't rub elbows with the MAGA Republicans. They give them full body massages. These white supremacists, like the white supremacy movement here and the modern day Republican Party, it goes together like peanut butter and jelly. The Republicans are upset because President Biden, he's calling out their friends. He's calling out their voters.
And I like your rant.
Thank
But
you.
here's
Thank you. I like that. By the way, I like that rant too. It was a good rant.
I like your rant. So, but here's the thing too, though. So what the MAGA Republicans also do, though, is everything to them when they inspire the conduct, like when they cause the insurrectionists to attack the Capitol, what's their first instinct? It's the feds who did it. It's an op. They don't even take accountability for it. And so this past weekend, given that the biggest threat to our domestic homeland, there's a group called the Patriot Front, which marched on Washington, D.C., this right-wing white supremacy group. And the response by the MAGA influencers was that it's the feds, that it's not even a real group. The feds are behind it. Biden's behind it. And so this is Cat Turd, who, by the way, is a major MAGA Republican influencer. And his response was, white supremacy is such a problem in the USA. The feds have to form the most laughable, obviously fake hate group you could ever imagine. Pitiful. And there were other statements like, oh, what a coincidence. President Biden talks about white supremacists, and then this group came out in Washington, D.C. Not the coincidence. Biden was talking about the right-wing groups that do that because it's a problem. And it's the constant gaslighting. It's the constant lying. They can't keep up with the next lie. And then they just move on to it and go, you know what? Whistleblower's missing. Everyone's missing. Let's go on to the next one. And then what their next one is, it's like, and we'll talk about this in a moment. It's like, okay, Title 42, which they've been trying to scare everybody with. When Title 42 is gone, the invasion begins. The invasion has started. And actually, the opposite happened. Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas and Biden did a lot of planning, and actually encounters at the border are down. But there was a news report from earlier in the week that an individual connected with terrorists in Afghanistan was caught. That's a good thing. Was caught crossing the border. That the FBI had caught the terrorist, caught the bad guy. And then what do the MAGA Republicans spend the time focusing on? That as though it is a bad thing, that you should be applauding the FBI.
Like the seizures at the border.
Instead, they turn around, and now that the Title 42 scheme didn't work, now it's like terrorists are at the border. They caught the bad guy. They caught the person, and that's the scene right there from the border with crossings down now that an actual plan has been implemented. Let's talk about that, and let's talk about more when we come back from this quick break.
This is sponsored by Miracle Made Sheets. Now, whether you want to get more fit or be a better parent or get more done at work, there's one thing that will help, and that's better sleep. With Miracle Made Sheets, you can tap into the power of self-cooling temperature regulation, which has been shown to improve deep sleep quality by over 20%. Now, using silver-infused fabrics originally inspired by NASA, Miracle Made Sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long, so you get better sleep every night. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. No more gross odors. Miracle Sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands and feel as nice, if not nicer, than bed sheets used from some of the 5-star hotels. Stop sleeping on bacteria. Clean sheets means less bacteria to clog your pores and fewer breakouts and other skin problems. Go to trymiracle.com/Midas to try Miracle Made Sheets today. And with Mother's Day and Father's Day right around the corner, this is the perfect way to give someone you love the gift of better and more luxurious sleep. Save over 40% off and be sure to use our promo code Midas at checkout to save even more and get 3 free towels. Miracle is so confident in their product that it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Midas and use the code Midas to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Midas to treat yourself. Support for Midas is brought to you by Manscaped, who has the best in men's below-the-waist grooming products. That's right, their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Join over 8 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code Midas at manscaped.com. Look, everyone knows that you have to be careful when dealing with the family jewels. You definitely don't want to use an old crusty electric trimmer. Yikes! That's why I'm so excited to partner with Manscaped. Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0 has arrived, and oh man, it's a game changer. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker, ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance Boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies. First off, the Lawnmower 4.0, this trimmer is the future of grooming, and dare I say the greatest below-the-waist trimmer ever? Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology.
The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof and also has 4000K LED spotlights you'll need for a more precise shave. And because this trimmer is waterproof, you can say goodbye to the mess on the bathroom floor. You thought that was good, but want to take your grooming game to the next level? The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps reduce nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate nose holes. Their Crop Preserver deodorant and Crop Reviver toner will change the way you approach your hygiene routine. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Bring your comfort and boxers to another level. It's time to take care of yourself, so go to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping with the code MIDAS. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code MIDAS. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Let's go.
We are back live here on the Midas Touch podcast. I'm Ben, joined by Brett and Jordy. Jordy, what great ad reads again. And of course, all of our sponsors who support this pro-democracy content. If you want to support them and check out their great products.
Legit, they give great products and it helps keep the show going. So the links are right there. Support the network, support the sponsors. Appreciate y'all.
So here's the thing on Title 42, right? Title 42 is not actually an immigration policy, right? It's a federal law that dates back to 1944 to stop the spread of communicable disease. And while Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans want to claim that there shouldn't be any executive powers relating to COVID, when it comes to immigration, they change their mind, right? Because there's no intellectual consistency. There, they want to base their entire immigration policy around a provision regarding the spread of communicable diseases. That's not a way to deal with immigration. That's just a way to find some obscure provision and then to try to claim semi-dictatorial powers to deal with an issue that is actually not comprehensive immigration policy. Whereas Democrats want to develop comprehensive immigration policy. And whereas once upon a time, I thought Republicans may have been interested in that. I mean, a far time ago, but clearly right now, they're not into solutions, right? At the end of the day, what they simply want to do is to spread lies about immigrants. They want to dehumanize them with this illegal label, and they want to just say horrible, horrible things about them because it's a great boogeyman to try to scare voters and to say illegal aliens are coming for you. And that's the kind of message that they spread. And they don't want to actually come up with a comprehensive solution. So Donald Trump used Title 42, and it also basically expelled asylum seekers, people who could get killed if they don't seek asylum, and basically expel them before they were even entitled to a hearing. So it also kind of went against all the basic notions of when someone is seeking asylum, how you are supposed to treat them. And so what the MAGA Republicans had always been saying is once Title 42 expires, and by the way, one of the reasons it expired is because the MAGA Republicans argued that Biden should not have any executive powers related to COVID policies. So that's why it's expired. It's a COVID, it dates to communicable diseases, but that's the hook is based on COVID. So then what they wanted to say is, oh, no, invoke it for fentanyl. Say that fentanyl isn't a communicable disease, so it doesn't actually fit the statute. And that's what MAGA Republicans just want to say. But here's the thing. When you replace Title 42 by an actual immigration policy, what happens is what we saw this past weekend. And look, the results are early, so we don't know if things are going to change. But the Biden administration has sent a clear message that is, look, there is a path to enter legally, and that they are going to make that path accessible and open. However, if you enter illegally, then there's going to be serious consequences and ramifications. But we're going to deal with immigrants compassionately because we are a nation built on immigrants. And just so many of these members of Congress, these Republicans, they're like one generation removed from immigrants. right? Like their parents were immigrants, their grandparents were immigrants.
Such a good point.
And their hatred of immigrants is what's at the core of their vision. It's a hate of the other, and disgustingly the same hate that their grandparents experienced. Like, how do you not have that experience and then go, you know what? We need to be compassionate and decent. I don't want people to be treated like our grandparents were. And then finally, when it comes to just common sense and the need to help our labor market, there is an absolute need for a pathway to citizenship, for a legal process to take place. Because when you look at what's happening in Florida, before that would happen in Alabama, and in a lot of these Republican states, when they don't have the labor, you're not able to actually do anything that you need to do to be economically productive. So there's kind of a common sense aspect of it here as well. But that's the whole Title 42 thing, is that, oh, guess what? When you actually implement a policy that's not some manufactured BS gimmick, because everything Trump world is gimmick. Look what happens. There's actually results here. And it's just enough. Like everything Donald Trump and these people say and do, they're wrong about anything. COVID like a miracle. It's going to go away. It's going to go away. We know more. They don't know anything. These people don't know anything. Maybe the only thing they know how to do is wear shirts that don't fit them, that are so tight, and then just lie on camera. It is astonishing how wrong they are about every single freaking thing, yet they're given a platform. It's like that guy Kudlaw. Their economic guys are the worst about everything. You know, the Kudlaw, I think that's the guy's name.
I mean, they're wrong about everything. I mean, and if you were to turn on Fox right now, don't recommend it. They're like spiking the football. We were right about Russia the whole time. We were right. Everyone else was wrong. We told the truth. We are vindicated. It's like, actually, no. Just because you had your hand-picked prosecutor go in and whine for a bunch of pages on the Durham report and then write in his conclusion that, oh, he actually ended up finding nothing, led to zero convictions whatsoever. He didn't even recommend a single change at the FBI in his conclusion. He was like, yeah, everything probably should stay the same. You can't like claim victory because you hired somebody to write a bunch of Trump-y complaints in a document. Like, it doesn't make him any more legitimate. Like y'all are just gaslighting everybody again.
Sorry, Brett, go ahead.
I was going to say, immigration is not a thing that Republicans want to solve. They want to use it as a political football because it helps get them votes over and over again.
And money.
How do we know this? Well, there was actually not back in the not so distant past a bill that actually came to the Senate. It was actually passed on a bipartisan basis, an immigration reform bill by the Senate. And the Republican Speaker of the House at the time, John Boehner, refused to even put it up for a vote. It passed the Senate. It could have passed the House. Boehner refused to even put it up for a vote on the House floor. Why? Because it would have passed. He would have been criticized for it. Republicans would have lost their immigration issue because there would have actually been immigration reform to help solve the problem, and they couldn't whine and bitch and moan like they always do. All they care about is the effect of trying to complain, and every election cycle being able to go, oh, the caravan is coming. It's an invasion. Yep. It's coming. It's coming, and they're coming to your family. They're coming to your town. Oh, look what's happening. It just lies. Everything they say is a lie, when in reality, if these people were actually if they were actually there to help the people, which they are not, they would be thinking, oh, there's this issue coming up. This Title 42 thing is expiring. Let's get our heads together. Let's figure something out. Oh, wait, people aren't getting to hear hearings on their immigration cases for years and years and years. I saw the House Judiciary Committee post something along these lines, posting that somebody's immigration case was being heard by a judge in 2027 or something like that. And so, okay, so are you going to provide more funding so there could be more immigration judges so that we can move this pipeline a little quicker so that we could help the immigration problem? No, you just want to complain. You just want to use it as a political football. They don't want to actually solve the problems. They want to get elected. And that is one of the biggest problems that our government has at this moment in time.
And a lot of people don't know the way government works. So the way the media portrays it, it just feels like gridlock, or it just feels like bad things are happening. And it's like, yeah, but it's really all coming from one side. And by the way, That's not to say that Democrats do everything right. I
Sure.
want to be very clear that I disagree with President Biden on certain things. I disagree with Democrats on certain things. And I think that if there were genuinely conservative, constructive views that were injected into debates, like actually conservative views, and independent views and views that aren't associated with political parties, and you can have real discussion to try to find the best outcome, I'm so open to that type of debate and to that type of discussion. Count me in where I can go, oh, you know what? That was a good idea. Or, you know what? That's actually a horrible idea, because under your idea, 30 million Americans are not going to get health care. I'm sorry. The private market doesn't work as good as you claim it does, absent some sort of government intervention. So I disagree with it. But we can have the discussion. We can have a conversation, but we want to arrive at the conclusion. How do we make education accessible and affordable to people? How do we make healthcare accessible and affordable? How do we lower prescription drug prices? How do we protect our veterans? How do we make sure that people can be treated equally? How do we make sure women can control their own bodies? How do we get weapons of war off of our streets? How is it that military has requirements to use the same weapons of war that any regular person can just get, and that the military has to be trained, but regular people don't have to be? What are we even talking about here? No, if you actually had people good faith have discussions, you would arrive at good faith solutions. And I genuinely believe that at the very least, for all of the criticisms that can be thrown at the Democrats' way, I do believe they're good faith actors, at least.
Yeah.
I think they are trying to propose constructive solutions to difficult problems and live in an objective reality that is the world that is going on. And meanwhile, you've got MAGA Republicans who are out there talking about technologically whatever mermaids and whatever, and that's actually what they're talking about. And they're promoting Mike Flynn and QAnon and out there just engaged in really dangerous stuff. And you want to go to this John Durham report for a second, Brett, to your point, all we heard from the MAGA Republicans is blockbuster indictments coming, that they're going to solve everything, get ready, everybody's going to jail. Okay, 0 people went to jail from Durham. 0 zip. The 2 trials, right? The Dichenko trial and the other lawyer trial, Sussman trial, both found not guilty within a very short period of time by the jurors. And when you read his report, again, this is more gaslighting that comes from Republicans. His report is like the FBI engaged in a cavalier attitude towards accuracy and completeness. So the criticism is they're acting cavalierly. Just page 17. You go to page 18. Our investigation also revealed that senior FBI personnel displayed a serious lack of analytical rigor towards the information that they received, especially information received from politically affiliated persons and entities. What analytical freaking rigor do you need when Donald Trump is out there saying, Russia, if you're listening, hack her emails, hack it, everybody? You need analytical rigor in that situation. I see it. It doesn't require me to necessarily do the, go through the periodic elements and start merging chemicals to kind of find out what the outcome is going to be here. He's saying these things. And then they say, and they displayed a confirmation bias is what. So those are the claims. Lack of analytical rigor, they wrote number 1, a cavalier attitude, and confirmation bias. Those were the complaints that ultimately the whole thing, that's what they found. And really, you want to talk about confirmation bias? Really? Paul Manafort guilty. Paul Manafort ran Trump's campaign. It's not some low-level person. Mike Flynn was the national security advisor of the United States. Guilty. Rick Gates, guilty. George Papadopoulos, guilty. Roger Stone, guilty. These people either were found guilty in courts or they pled guilty. And I know Donald Trump essentially pardoned them all, but what type of analytical rigor are you talking about? They're found guilty. So you're now criticizing the Mueller investigation because people actually were convicted, unlike in your investigations, Durham. And by the way, here's CNN's ridiculous headline. So after all I read, This is what CNN went all in on the Republican talking points on this one. They go, just in, special counsel John Durham finds the FBI should not have launched an investigation into Donald Trump's campaign in Russia during the 2016 election. By the way, I don't even think that's what his report said. Like,
it doesn't say that.
They're overlaying. That's not even what it says, number one. But number two, even if it did say it, where's that fact checker? Remember that guy? Who is that guy who would always?
I know
come
the
out
guy.
and-
We don't. Why even say the guy? Why even give him any sort
Okay,
of credit?
I won't give
anymore?
him a
He's still
platform.
working there. He's still working at that ridiculousness.
I
Why give that guy any credit?
But could you? But like, really?
They're pathetic. And he was always agenda based. That guy.
And did you guys see Jake Tapper though? I mean, this I don't know honestly. Like, I think you saw it all. By the way, when that CNN reporter whose job is to be a critic of the media, Oliver Darcy, his job is literally to criticize the media, and he wrote some words about the CNN Trump town hall that were not very favorable. And apparently, the CEO of CNN called him and his editors into the office to scold him and quote put the fear of God into him. So that just shows you that you really can't when you see these, the main anchors on CNN saying their opinions, that they're not necessarily even their opinions right now, because they know, oh, Darcy got called into the principal's office to be scolded because he dared speak out of the company line. And Jake Tapper today goes on TV the second after this airs, and he opens up and he goes, this Durham report that just came out, it is devastating for the FBI and exonerates Donald Trump. It's objectively not true.
But here's the thing. Objectively, for a report that is not objective in the first place. Like, the very purpose of the report was Durham was hired by Bill Barr in 2019 when they actually weaponized the Justice Department to go after Donald Trump's political enemies with a mandate to essentially prosecute them all with all of Trump's conspiracies.
Yes,
So the very essence of this was a witch hunt to prepare the worst report that actually has no objectivity, Brett. So when you say objectively, you're adding a layer that doesn't even need to be there, because the report is already biased and completely ridiculous in the first place. But even if you read the biased report doesn't even say what CNN overlays into the report. That's the part that's like, what?
Why? Yeah, which leads me to believe that somebody in Durham's camp, or these Republicans who were waiting for it to come out and had advance notice of it, that they kind of fed CNN and Licht and Tapper some of the talking points to go out with, because they were on it like before you could even like have time to read this document. They were out there with that framing like instantly, and it's so toxic and it's so dangerous. And I remember this. You remember this study like, I don't know, it was like 8 years ago or 10 years ago or something. It basically said that viewers of Fox News were actually less informed than people who didn't watch any news whatsoever. There was like a big study, it's very famous. It's referenced frequently. And now looking at the coverage that we see from CNN, I think they're trying to work towards the same thing. Like if you watched that report on CNN, you would have left with just inaccurate information. You would have left with a false impression of everything, with things that weren't even said in this report. And to Ben's point, the genesis of the report in the first place, the only reason that they even brought on Durham to be this special prosecutor or whatever, the only reason he was there was to muddy the water because they were upset about the investigation into Trump. They took it personally. They took it as a political attack, despite the fact that all the people Ben listed got convicted.
And by the way, Brett, one of the criminal leads that Durham got from intelligence officials in Italy was that Donald Trump was involved in financial crimes, and then Durham just killed that. And it's barely even referenced at all. Like, no one talks about it, but that's actually one of the valid crimes that were identified during the investigation. And then what the Republicans did about that is they then, once Durham got that information from Italian intelligence officials, they reported it as though he was investigating financial crimes of like Trump's enemies. They took the thing that he then squashed the criminal investigation and used that to report on the media in 2019 that he was doing this criminal investigation on like Hillary Clinton and others.
Let me reiterate this so that it's clear. like legitimately, the only major crime that John Durham found, the only one that John Durham actually found, was based on intelligence from Italy that Donald Trump committed financial crimes. That's the only crime that he actually found. And then Durham chose not to prosecute those crimes because he was there to protect Donald Trump. That's legitimately the only criminal takeaway from this. Other than that, it's everyone else is exonerated. No changes at the FBI. Now listen to dozens of pages of me just ranting the same Trump Russia BS that we've heard for the past 6 years.
And I don't like to rail on other news and media networks just because, right? Because we're competitors to them, I guess. But we shouldn't be, right? We should all be in the game of truth. But what it comes down to are there are networks out there that are gaslighting you and lying to you every single day. And so to come full circle here with this episode, and not to wrap us up because I think we have another topic to cover, is it's more important than ever that y'all listening right now on audio or watching this, hit that subscribe button to the Midas Touch Network. It's the easiest thing you could do. And you know why? We're always going to bring you the truth. We're always going to bring you the data. We're always going to be honest and upfront, and we're here to meet the moment. These other networks out there, they're not ready. They can't handle the moment. And what this CNN reporting shows, once again, is the fallacy of liberal bias in media. It just doesn't exist. We are truth seekers here at the Midas Touch Network. The Midas Mighty, the audience, you all are truth seekers and you care about facts. And we appreciate you and we love you for that. Please subscribe right now to the Midas Touch Network.
I want to show you, this is a Democratic Congressmember Jim McGovern at a hearing earlier today. He's questioning MAGA Republican Andy Biggs and also questions whether Andy Biggs got an advance copy of the Durham report, which Andy Biggs probably did. Andy Biggs is a MAGA Republican from Arizona, by the way, who got all of his wealth because he mysteriously won the Publishers Clearinghouse Award. Like, that's where his money comes from. He's like in one of those commercials with the big check, and under fairly suspicious circumstances, how he was picked as the winner. But he's the one who says, you got to put yourself up by your bootstraps, just like when I won the Publishers Clearinghouse Award, and that's how I got all of my money. But watch what Democratic Congressman Jim McGovern says here. It's brilliant. Play this clip.
I get where you're coming from, but let's also talk about the Durham report that just came out today.
Yeah, all right.
And let's talk about this as what it is. It's a package of bills that deal with federal and local law enforcement. But it didn't deal with it the way you wanted. So now it's a January 6th issue. So I get it. That's all you got. So go ahead.
Yeah.
Hang your hat on that.
Yeah, you guys made this decision, by the way, before the Durham report came out. I mean, you noticed this bill last week. I don't know whether you had an advance copy of the Durham report, but I think the Durham report was a colossal waste of money. But let me just point out for the record, since you brought it up, federal prosecutors have secured convictions or confessions from Trump's campaign manager, deputy campaign manager, fundraiser, chief strategist, national security advisor, 2 foreign policy advisors, his personal lawyer, and his accountant. And Trump has been charged with 34 felony counts, and a jury of his peers said that he is a sexual abuser. Special Counsel Mueller issued 25 indictments against Russian nationals who attempted to undermine the 2016 election at the orders of Russian President Vladimir Putin. And I did a cursory reading of the Durham report online. I don't see any indictments. I think a number of you were saying there'd be multiple indictments. I don't know, did I miss something? Were there indictments?
Well, I don't know who said there'd be multiple indictments, but what I do...
Mr. Radcliffe, who was a former colleague who served in the administration, said lots of indictments.
Well, I can't speak for Mr. Radcliffe, but I can tell you that trying to get an indictment out of Merrick Garland is going to be pretty darn hard, unless you're a Republican.
I mean, by the way, just the amount of gaslighting there. They always said there was going to be indictments, and frankly, they said there was going to. And by the way, let's be very clear too. Again, with the disinformation. So Durham's a special counsel, right? The same way that Jack Smith is a special counsel, right? So ultimately, what the process would be is that Durham or a Jack Smith would make the recommendation regarding a criminal prosecution. So before you can even say, for example, that Merrick Garland, even though Bill Barr was the attorney general before that for at least a significant period of time while Durham was conducting his investigation. Remember, Barr gave him special counsel status in October of 2020 so that Durham couldn't be fired by Merrick Garland under the special counsel statute. But Durham, if he believed there to be charges, he could have brought those charges. He could have recommended it. And if Merrick Garland rejected it, he could talk about the rejection, about why it was rejected. Yeah, so he didn't even make the recommendation at all. And by the way, yes, all the MAGA Republicans were talking about is these are going to be blockbuster indictments. And again, it would be one thing if he made all these recommendations. They got the scoop. They found everything, right? And everything that all their conspiracy theories they were able to show after millions of dollars. Then they gave the case to Merrick Garland, made the recommendation, and Garland was like, no. Then if you want to be like, that's screwed up behavior, let's hold hearings. By the way, I may be for it because I may be like, whoa, you found all this stuff and then it's being rejected and you giving me evidence and data. If the evidence and data suggests actual misconduct, go for it. Let's just focus on let's focus on if there are real crimes. I'm okay with that being investigated, of course. Law and order means law and order. And again, what you saw there from Andy Biggs was just total and complete gaslighting. But
Andy Biggs, who's like an actual criminal who asked for a pardon for January 6th, like all these people also, like they're just the worst people. They're the worst people, and they're constantly trying to gaslight you. And all they cared about in spending all that money was so they could get the headlines that they're getting right now on Fox News and on CNN, which I think was an unexpected gift for them that they didn't see coming. But that's all they care about. They don't care about the facts behind the matter. Honestly, this felt a lot like an excuse to kind of say something for Durham. Like he knew that he had nothing. He knew that none of his actual prosecutions had resulted in any convictions whatsoever. They were all just like laughed out of court, basically. And so he needed to front load this document with a lot of innuendo, which is all they know. Just throw in a lot of innuendo. And then the conclusion, no conclusion. Just don't change anything. I actually didn't find anything, but I was pretty upset about the stuff that I said on the top. I mean, that is ultimately what we saw there. But I welcome the Republican Party right now to go all in on this, because what are you already seeing? I mean, I predicted this before because they're so easy to predict, but the Republican Party is now going to go all in on, we need to defund the FBI. We need to defund the Department of Justice. We need to relitigate the 2016 election. Hillary Clinton, Russia. That's what they're going to continue to campaign on going into the next elections. And I welcome that fight if they want to make it into a defund the law enforcement kind of position. If that's where they want to corner themselves, because that's not where the American people are. Jordy, did we lose Ben right now or what?
I think we lost Ben. Ben, we love Ben. He's one of the smarter brothers of the three, but also very technologically challenged. So
you know what? So I'll hit Rudy Giuliani then, because
please do, because it's an important story.
It's an important story. Should I leave frozen Ben up for the listeners? Ben is just frozen on the left side.
I think so. I think to kind of shame him a little bit.
Yeah, it's like a little trophy to Ben. He did a great work. He's for there he goes. Oh, he just slipped away. But there was this absolutely horrifying lawsuit that was filed against Rudy Giuliani by a former associate named Noel Dunphy. I'm gonna read just bits and pieces of it, but I'm not going to get into the full graphic and explicit details, because it's honestly, I had to put it down, frankly, because it was one of the single most sickening, disgusting, graphic explanations of Rudy Giuliani's just absolutely vile behavior. Like, just it makes disgusting. My blood boil. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. But it was a sexual assault lawsuit. So he's seeking, I think, $10 million for damages. And I'll name, just like I said, I'm just going to name some of the things. And these aren't even the worst things, but they're still absolutely disgusting. The associate Noel Dunphy, in the 70-page complaint that was filed in New York Supreme Court, said that Rudy Giuliani had forced her to perform oral sex on him while she while she took calls from Donald Trump. She says she also has recordings of him making a lot of sexist and racist remarks. So here's the thing. She says that she actually has a lot of what occurred on recording. And so she's got tapes, Lordy, we got tapes again. And so we have actual recordings of Rudy Giuliani. Wow. And in the filing, she even says that this wasn't a secret. Like Rudy Giuliani knew that she was recording him in all those interactions. Yet this is the way he spoke. Like he would just be drinking all the times. He would go on these, quote, this is a direct quote, confused and hostile, alcohol-laced tirades and would demand sexual favors from her. He would force her to have oral sex and intercourse with her. I mean, this is just really vile stuff. The complaint says that Giuliani, quote, took Viagra constantly while the two were working together and would sometimes, quote, point to his erect penis and tell Dunphy that he could not do any work until, quote, you take care of this. And that he would demand that Dunphy would disrobe during their work-related video conferences. It gets even worse. Like it gets worse and worse and worse. Here's one particularly vile quote that he said to her. I think of you as my daughter, Giuliani told her while engaging in sexual contact with her, the lawsuit alleges. And then he asked, is that weird? Yeah. All of it is weird. All of it is absolutely abhorrent and disgusting. It seems like everybody in this party is just a party of sexual abusers and deviants. I guess I'm not surprised. Rudy's first marriage was to like his cousin. And so I guess I'm not surprised when he starts comparing somebody who he's doing this stuff to a daughter or whatever he compared her to there. So just to like kind of sum up those parts of it, to put it succinctly, he would make her work naked, allegedly made her perform oral sex on him. He would drink all day and night, make these sexist and racist and anti-Semitic remarks. He would not pay any of his bills. And I'm not going to even get into the most disturbing and graphic allegations there. If you want to read those, you can find the filing. And the Daily Beast did a really good breakdown of it all. But buried in this filing were some things that you could be damn sure Jack Smith is laser focused on. Some incredibly damning allegations against not only Rudy Giuliani, but Donald Trump. And I'll read for you some of that right now. Dunphy claimed that Giuliani told her that he was able to, quote, break the laws because he had, quote, immunity. And get this, he asked if she knew anyone in need of a pardon because he was selling pardons, presidential pardons, for $2 million. Quote from the complaint. He told Miss Dunphy that she could refer individuals seeking pardons to him so long as they did not go through the, quote, normal channels of the Office of the Pardon Attorney, because that correspondence going to that office would be subject to disclosure under the Freedom of Information Act. So he was trying to keep this pay-for-play pardon bribery scheme, whatever you want to call it. He was trying to keep it under wraps to go through other channels that could not be summoned in a Freedom of Information Act request. Not only that, Dunphy alleges, and this is the biggest bombshell of the entire thing, as if that wasn't bad enough. Dunphy alleges that Rudy Giuliani said that he would then split the $2 million that he would get from getting pardons from people, split that money with Donald Trump. Just think about that for a second. Using the awesome power of the pardon, putting it on the auction block for $2 million, and then splitting that money between Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani. I mean, that it doesn't get more criminal than that. If these allegations are true, this is incredibly criminal, and it needs to be added immediately to the list of things that Jack Smith is currently investigating into Donald Trump. And like I said, folks, there are tapes of nearly every conversation that Dunphy had with Rudy Giuliani. There are actual recordings of just about all of this. So I know I want to hear that tape, and I know Jack Smith wants to hear that tape. He should get it immediately. And there was also this portion, which I think is worth mentioning.
Hey, Brett, can I just jump in really quick here?
Yeah.
Can I just say why I believe that he was actually trying to sell, Giuliani was trying to sell the presidential pardons for $2 million. As we all know, Donald Trump does not pay his legal fees. So he probably found this as a route to actually earn some of the money back that he thought he was owed. in a way to, I don't know, turn a profit off of this disgusting, vile, banana land situation. I mean, I'm glad Ben's back. He could help me fill in my vocabulary here and use some real words. But
I think Ben was gonna. I think you stole the words out of Ben's mouth. I think Ben was gonna go with Banana Land as well. I could tell that Banana Land was coming out of his mouth. But there was also this other portion that I wanted to read from it. That is quite interesting to me. It's line 124, I believe, and it reads the following. This is from the complaint. On February 7th, 2019, Giuliani told Miss Dunphy to take a note to remind him to pay taxes on a private jet ride he was gifted by a friend. That's honestly probably the most shocking thing to me, that he's going to pay taxes. The same day, Giuliani told Miss Dunphy, in her capacity as his employee, about a plan that had been prepared for if Trump lost the 2020 election. Jack Smith, are you listening? Specifically, Giuliani told Miss Dunphy that Trump's team would claim that there was voter fraud and that Trump actually won the election. The plan was discussed at several business meetings with Giuliani and Lev Parnas. Ben, your thoughts?
Well, we should get Lev on also to talk to him about it as well.
I was thinking the same thing. Whether on this pod or a one-on-one pod or something, we should get Lev Parnas on the show to discuss this, because this is wild.
Yeah, and just that you may have went through just the history of the lawsuit. So a few months ago, a kind of a placeholder lawsuit was filed, and she filed it pro se without a lawyer. And in this one, a law firm filed this 250 paragraph complaint, very detailed. Look, it's got text messages. They state that there are recordings. There's another paragraph where it mentions all of the emails that she had access to as well. And so there appears to be a treasure trove of information here that will be discoverable. And one of the things that she waited for is for this New York adult survivors statute to take effect. And that's the same exact statute that E. Jean Carroll invoked, where it allows victims of sexual abuse and assault 1 year to bring a case in New York if their statute of limitations already expired. And so she invoked the New York Adult Survivors Act. So you have last week Donald Trump being held liable under the Adult Survivors Act. You have this week a case being brought against Rudy Giuliani, and the plaintiff in this case brought receipts as well. And so we'll keep everybody updated on what's going on there. But yeah, I think special counsel Jack Smith just going to say, look, show us the evidence, show us the email, show us the documents. And again, I think it's, it's buckle up, folks, because, it's not like things over the summer are going to get any slower. Normally in the summer, news kind of slows down. Things are going to get far more intense. Things are, updates are going to be happening very, very, very frequently. And we'll, of course, keep everybody updated. A jam-packed show today. So honored to spend this post-Mother's Day show with everybody. Again, I just want to give a special shout out to all the Midas mothers out there, because without you, none of this is possible. Without all the Midas Mighty, none of this is possible. But we definitely want to give a special shout out to all the Midas moms out there. We love you, and thank you so much for all of your support. And of course, to our mother, happy birthday, happy Mother's Day. And we'll keep on here at the on the Midas Touch Network. So thank you everybody for watching. Remember, if you just watch on YouTube, make sure you subscribe on audio as well. Those audio numbers right now are rising significantly, and I think it's also because you're sharing the audio podcast with friends, family, coworkers, as you are with this YouTube channel. But make sure you do that. That's one of the easiest and best ways you can help. And also by leaving a 5-star review. If you want to support any of our sponsors from this episode, with Jordy's great ad reads and the descriptions below, a lot of great products, and we truly pick sponsors who we think are good fits and whose products we like. And so I'm very proud of these sponsors. So check them out in the descriptions. You could also support this show by going to patreon.com/MidasTouch, patreon.com/MidasTouch. We're not funded by outside investors. No worries if you can't do a Patreon membership, but we got a lot of exclusive content on our Patreon site that we hope you'll enjoy. So check it out at patreon.com/MidasTouch. Also, for the best pro-democracy gear, check us out at store.midastouch.com, store.midastouch.com, 100% made in the US, 100% union made. Again, thank you to all the Midas Mighty out there. We're so grateful for you. We know that none of this is possible without you. And look, if large media networks are failing, that's putting it nicely, to do their job, we'll keep telling the truth here each and every day, and we'll keep working harder than ever for you. And thanks for your support and your confidence in this network. We're grateful for it. Jordy, take it away.
Shout out to the Midas Mighty!
Lock him up! Indictment season is upon us. Celebrate with the new Indictment Season t-shirt and v-neck exclusively at store.midastouch.com.